All right, one of the things that I would like to mention is about finding just the test statistics. So some problems might require you just to find the test statistic, not go further along. And how is that differ? How is that going to change our life? Okay, let me get that screen together. Yep. All right, so if you're finding a test statistics for proportions, this is the things that we need to have. We need to have a sample proportion. We need to know what's written on the claim for that proportion. And we need to use that P and Q and sample size. This is if we're running a hypothesis testing for proportion, that's what we find. Z test statistic. And p-value is something like if it is a left tail test, right tail test, depending on the right tail test, this will be the equation that we use. Left tail test, this will be the equation we need to use. And if we're running a two-tail test, we look at our test statistics. If our test statistic is positive, then we take the right tail test and double it. If test statistic is negative, then we take the left tail test and double it, and that would be for two-tail tests. So I need you to see one thing here. For finding the test statistic, all you need is p-hat and a sample size. You don't need to know the claim. You don't need to know the hypothesis testing. We shouldn't give you, or we don't have to give you what's the claim, this is the hypothesis, da 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 da. We just can give you a vaguely the phenomena, and then give you the sample size and the p-hat. That's all. You don't need alpha. You don't need to know the claim, direction of the claim, direction of that null hypothesis. You can find the test statistic, right? To be able to find the p-value, you really need to know the setup of your hypothesis and alpha. Okay, make that distinction, please. So then moving forward, with the problem that we have done in lab manual page 91, 7, it is about, is there a difference between the store prices or not? For Matilda's case, we have 10 stores. And had I asked you only find the test statistic, this would be the formula that you would be using, right? However, everything is not very simple there. So first, we needed to create D bar, which will be becoming the third column of your Excel sheet. D bar represents the average of that third column. And we need to find the standard deviation of that third column that you created, right? And then usually mu sub d is a difference or not, that will be 0, and n sample size will be given. Is that correct? Okay, so this is what we will be looking at then. So I'm going to my Excel sheet. So what I've done for that problem, I've created the third column A minus B. Obviously in the test you're not going to enter the data, but you're going to download the data and you will be seeing a 2-column data, but you really need to create this column on your data. Okay, and it's defined as A minus B. And then I will be using this formula accordingly. So D bar here represents the average of that column. We know how to take it, equal average. SD represents the standard deviation dot S of that column. Again, it comes from here. Then I will be using the figures that I have got there to be able to find test statistic. So this test statistic has been obtained as negative 2.48 minus 0 divided by standard deviation 0.93188 and square root of 10. So this will be my test statistic, which is here. I believe this is what you found there. And the problem stops there. There might be a problem like that. Find the test statistic. I'm not giving you the alpha. I'm not giving you, where's the claim at? Okay. I just turn around and say that, okay, that's what we're testing. And this is the data. And find the test statistic. So this test statistic tells us what? Our sample is below the mean because it's negative 0.84 standard deviation. Well, is it something significant? No. Why? Because what we expect to see, anything to be significant, it needs to be below 2 and above, beyond 2, up, down, and beyond 2, up. So we would expect to end up with a high p-value, correct? The other thing that I wanted to underline, because we're running, if the question was continuing that, run the test, and then the solution, what we have on the lab manual continues, this is the test statistic. So because it's negative, negative means that it's a left tail, and then I would take the left tail test and double it, right? And then we end up with this p-value, 41%. It's really high, and we would say fail to reject H0, and we would write our conclusion. Okay, moral of the story from this question. Some questions might require for us just to figure out the test statistic. And to figure out the test statistic, we don't need to know everything like alpha, the direction of the claim. We could stop there by looking at the test statistic. Is that right? But you need to create your third column. Okay, I'm going to stop this.